What's going on, everyone? BouseFeenux here, and now that I'm just waking up from my Monster Hunter World coma, I've switched back over to Dauntless to check out more of the Sharpen Your Skills update, and if you're not familiar with what that is, I made a video on it recently detailing the changes, and if you want to get caught up, click the little icon in the top right corner of this video. If you want to stay here, though, I'll be touching on some of the main points again in this video, so it's up to you, really. Anyway, let's jump in. I wanted to do a few things with this video. Firstly, I wanted to compare and contrast Monster Hunter World and Dauntless in kind of a general sense. The second thing I wanted to do is talk about the Sharpen Your Skills update, which, to be completely honest, has me kind of worried about the future of the game, but more on that here in a few. But let's start with the first point. Dauntless versus Monster Hunter. With Monster Hunter, you have a decades-old franchise backed by one of the world's largest game developers with years of experience, polished gameplay mechanics, and a huge roster of bosses, gear, and weapons to fight with, among other things. Now, does that make Monster Hunter better than Dauntless? In my opinion, I don't really feel like it does. Yes, it's glaringly obvious that Dauntless borrows much in the way of gameplay design and inspiration from Monster Hunter, but after playing both games, one right after the other, I can tell you that these are two very different approaches, and as usual, the devil is in the details, which in this case is how a hunt feels. Hunting a giant monster is by far the most important activity in both Dauntless and Monster Hunter. In Dauntless, I feel as if each fight is a lot slower and more methodical than in Monster Hunter. There's a lot less going on in the environment, every attack feels more deliberate, and carries more weight in my opinion. It's just you and a big baddie squaring off with no other distractions. And to summarize, the Dauntless fighting experience feels more pure and technical. If I had to put this in terms you guys might understand, I'd say the fighting difference feels like going from For Honor to something like Mortal Kombat or Injustice 2. Now, I know some of you might take it the wrong way, but nothing I'm saying is meant to be an insult. I'm a huge fan of both Monster Hunter and Dauntless so far. I'm just trying to describe for you guys the way these games feel when you play them. On the other hand, though, you have Monster Hunter with its flashy combat, crazy weapons, and super aggressive monsters. It feels more like playing an anime-styled game, which makes sense because Monster Hunter is developed in the East, while Dauntless was developed in the West with a Western audience in mind. I noticed that in the comments of my previous video, a lot of you were saying that how you can't get over the way the weapon designs look in Monster Hunter, and that they don't look believable. I actually really enjoy the designs in Monster Hunter for one, but for those that don't, Dauntless is a little more grounded in realism. And what I'm getting at here is that you have options in this monster hunting genre now. I don't feel like one game is necessarily better than the other, they're just different. Yes, of course, Monster Hunter does a lot of things better than Dauntless, but again, it's a series that's over a decade old. In comparison, Dauntless is barely out of its first year of playable development. It's still in infancy. Now, with all that being said, Dauntless is not without its fair share of issues, which brings us to the second point in our video, the Sharpen Your Skills update. As a quick refresher, this is the most recent and largest update to Dauntless yet. It changed pretty much everything in the game: combat, crafting, questing, you name it. And unfortunately, a lot of these things were changed for the worse. So first, let's talk about the questing system, aka the hunt board. The hunt board is where you decide which monster you want to fight and queue up for a hunt with a party. It used to be you could select whichever monster you had unlocked and you could queue up for a hunt to fight it with a party or test your skill by fighting it solo. Now, they've added the patrol system. There are certain areas or tiers of monsters in the game, and as you progress through the quest line, you'll unlock more of these tiers as you take down tougher monsters. This is kind of like how the Hunter rank system in Monster Hunter works, except now, which monster you fight in a given area is RNG based. In order to fight the monster you're actually trying to farm, you have to do 3 of these random hunts for every one specific hunt. This makes the game extremely and unnecessarily grindy. Phoenix Labs, if you're watching this, know that everyone hates this system. It's gotta change. Keep the patrols or whatever, but take away the ticket requirement to fight a specific monster. It doesn't make any sense, and it's painful when you're trying to farm something specific. This leads me to my second point, the crafting system. It's been completely changed. It used to be you could fight one monster 3 or 4 times, and if you were skilled and broke the right parts, you can make its entire set of gear. Now, a piece of gear more or less requires these 3 things. The first of those are notes, which is the game's non-premium currency, comparable to Zenny from Monster Hunter. The second is Arcanite, which you get from completing a hunt, and the third is the hide of the monster you are fighting. No more unique parts like fins, claws, or whatever else. All of the monster parts are now more or less either hides, or in the case of the Shrike, a feather. The biggest problem with this is that every piece of gear, from weapons to armor, needs basically the same exact materials, and the worst culprit is the Arcanite. You really only get 1 to 2 of them per hunt, and to upgrade a single weapon, you need anywhere from 4 to 6 Arcanite. The same is true for a single piece of armor. Combine that with the knowledge of any given hunt being 15 to 30 minutes long, and you can imagine the astronomical grind it takes just to create and level up one set of gear. This is also true for consumable support items like potions. In Dauntless, you gain resources by gathering from plants and mining nodes during a hunt. In the previous version of the game, you'd be able to gather from a node 3 times before it disappeared. Now you can only gather once. Now granted, there are a lot more nodes, but A, the ones you actually need are few and far between, and B, this means you're spending even more time in a hunt by just running around the map picking flowers, which means even more time until you get your next Arcanite or vital resource to craft new gear. But thankfully, if you don't want to do all that silly farming, Phoenix Labs has you covered, because with the Sharpen Your Skills update, there is now a cash shop featuring, you guessed it, consumables. Now, I get that this is a free-to-play game. You have to have a cash shop. The game needs to make money. Developers are human beings with bills to pay and obligations to fulfill, and making the game is expensive. But you guys broke a promise. You told the community numerous times that gameplay-affecting items, like potions and consumables, wouldn't be in the cash shop. This is literally the definition of pay to win, and you've implemented it in closed beta, no less, when the game isn't even ready to be played by the public. This is not a good move, and people are not happy with it. Now, I realize all of this sounds bad, but the game is still in closed beta, and there's time for Dauntless to improve. I just don't like the road that the devs are going down at the moment. I really want to see this game succeed. I'm super excited to have 2 Monster Hunter type games to play and cover on my channel, and I, for one, think it's great to have options. But guys, that's pretty much all I have to say for today's video. If you enjoyed watching it or found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like down below, and if you think any of your friends would enjoy this video like you did, share it. It helps me out a ton. Also, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and stay up to date on everything Monster Hunter, Dauntless, and For Honor. Until next time though, I'm BouseFeenux. I'll see you at the next one, and as always, thank you so much for watching.